he wants to enjoy nature rather than sitting in the class and enjoying the lesson. He is not at all interested in the lesson. Poet talks about the poverty that the children are experiencing, the malnutrition the children are experiencing. The poet actually requests the government to provide facilities and improve. Allusion is the quoting of some prominent personality in his poem. A very warm welcome to all the young minds of Class 12 Cbse. I am Dr. Shalini, your English teacher in prep school. So welcome to another session of English, and today we are going to understand one of the poems. In the previous session also you had understood one of the poems, that is My Mother at 66, written by Kamala Das. So today we are here to discuss about an elementary school classroom in a slum. So let us see what is there in today's session, and this is a wonderful poem for you to understand. The poet has actually described the society. He has written it like a satire. So let us get into the session and understand what is there in today's poem. So today, to start with, you will be learning about the poet first. Then I'll just show you what is a poem, how long is the poem and how many stanzas is the poem divided into. Then we have the summary and literary devices along with new words you'll be understanding. Then we have the rhyme scheme. At last, we have the theme of the poem. So let us start our session today. To start with, we are going to understand about the author. Okay, so he is the poet of this poem, that is Stephen Spender. So he was actually born in London, that is Kensington, that is London. So it is a small city in London. Okay, so he was very much influenced by W.H. Auden, who was also a critic writing. Okay, he was also a critic writer. He was very much influenced by politics. That is, Spender was very much influenced by politics. So he was always into writing this criticism and all. Okay, so he was a very famous novelist. He was a short story writer and also a great poet. Most of his poems and short stories exhibited the flaws of society. So he thought by his writings he can improve the society. He can bring the society to a higher level. Okay, so then he also wrote criticism, he also wrote travel books, then he also wrote few dramas and essays. Okay, so Spender was awarded the Golden Pen Award in 1995, which is one of the most prestigious award for contributing to the society. Okay, so this is all about the poet, that is Stephen Spender. So this is the poem we are going to understand today. Okay, so it is divided into 4 stanzas. So here this is the first stanza, that is it starts from far and ends at this. So here you can notice that all the sentences do not end with full stop. Okay, the sentence continues to the next line also. Okay, so it doesn't end at the end of the line. Somewhere in between also the sentence ends. Okay, so what comes to your mind when you see this? There is no word limit or there is no sentence limit for that poem. Okay, that stanza. Okay, so what comes to your mind when you say this is my question? That I'll answer to you when we go to the rhyme scheme. Okay, so this is the second stanza. Here also you can know that full stop is somewhere in between. The sentence doesn't end at the end of the line. Okay, so it continues like that. So third stanza also you can see the same thing. Okay, so in between there is continuation. Okay, so there are capital letters used in between. So all these you must notice, and this is the last stanza. So let us start with the summary right from the first stanza. Okay, so the first stanza we will go through first. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting father's gnarled disease. His lesson from his desk at the back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. Okay, let us start with the summary, and as we learn the summary, I'll just tell you the literary devices also. Okay, so to begin with, you can see the poet has repeated the word far. So why has he repeated that? He just wants to emphasize the distance these children are put into compared to the normal life of other children. Okay, so far, far from gusty waves. Okay, so gusty, you know, they are strong. Okay, the wind that blows, okay, that is a strong one. Okay, they are all placed very far. Okay, that means they are not into normal life, they are too far from that, they are nowhere near to it. That is what the poet tries to tell here. So where these children's face like rootless weeds. So rootless weeds, here the children's life is compared to that. Okay, so weeds actually will have roots, but here these weeds also do not have roots. So that is what the poet is trying to tell here. And here there is a comparison. You can see the word like, right? So that is the simile used over here. Okay, so that figure of speech is simile. When you use like, okay, it is simile. Then the hair tone around their pallor. So what does pallor mean? Pallor actually means dull. Okay, so the hair around their dull face you can consider. Poet is talking about the face. So the hair around their pallor, their dull face. Okay, so the tall girl with her weighed down head. So weighed down head, maybe the reason for this might be maybe she is very weak, or maybe she is suffering from malnutrition, or maybe some disease she might have. Okay, because she is from slum. Okay, so maybe she has some disease, so she has bent her head. So that also may be one of the reasons. So tall girl with her head weighed down head. So the paper seeming boy. So here you can see a paper seeming boy means the poet is trying to tell that the boy is very thin. Okay, so the skin actually appears to be like a paper, and with rat's eyes, means rat's eyes will be very small, right? So that type of eyes he has, means there is no activeness in the eyes of the boy. Fine. So here the paper seeming boy, this is actually a metaphor. It is again a comparison. Okay, his skin is compared to, or the boy is compared to very thin sheet of paper. Fine. So this is the paper seeming boy is actually a metaphor. With rat's eyes, the stunted. Stunted means not having proper growth. Fine. Stunted, unlucky hair. Hair means a person who receives his father's inheritance. Okay, so he inherits a few things from his father or from his elders. That person is called as a hair. Of twisted bones. So here you can see twisted bones is what the boy has received from his father. Reciting a father's gnarled disease. That means this boy has received not property from his father, but he has received some disease from his father. Okay, as an inheritance, he has received some disease. Okay, long-term disease from his father. Then he talks about another boy here. How many children does he talk about? One is the tall girl, the other one is the paper seeming boy, and the other one is the boy who has a stunted growth. Okay, so then he also talks about another boy who is sitting in the last bench. Fine. His lesson from his desk at back of the dim class. First of all, the class doesn't have proper light. Okay, there is no proper light, there is no proper ventilation also. Okay, so this class is very dim. At the same time, the boy also is very disinterested in that class. He is sitting in the last bench where there is no proper light at all. But what does he do? One unnoted, sweet and young. So he was very sweet. Okay, so he was not noted in the class. Means he is somewhere in the corner of the class. He is not at all to be noted. He is not at all to be seen by the other people there. But what does he do? He was very sweet. Why was he very sweet? Why does the poet use this word sweet there? Because the work what he is doing is actually very sweet. He wants to enjoy nature rather than sitting in the class and enjoying the lesson. He is not at all interested in the lesson. He just wants to go out and play. What does he want to play? His eyes live in a dream of squirrels game. He wants to play with the squirrels like he is doing now. Like there is a tree room there. Maybe there is a place where the squirrels are living very near to the classroom. That is the classroom window. So he is playing with those squirrels over there. Okay. Other than this, this refers to the lesson. Okay, so other than the lesson, he wants to play with the squirrels is the actual meaning here. So altogether, summarizing this para, we get to know a poet is describing the children and the situation, their appearance. Okay, so that is what the poet is telling in the first stanza. Okay, so let us go to the second stanza now. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome hiding all cities, belled flowery Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world where all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So here you should understand, here the poet is trying to compare the lives of children with the normal world. Okay, so to begin with, we'll start with the first word, that is on sour cream walls. So here sour actually means which is, you think of the taste, right? But here sour cream walls means which is not clean. Okay, sour, not clean is the meaning over here. Okay, sour means not clean or unclean, you can say. Okay, unclean cream walls, donations. He's talking about the people who have donated in order to make the school better. Okay, so that actually doesn't work at all. Shakespeare's head. So now he's talking about the wall. Okay, so what is there on the wall? In the classroom, on a wall, there is Shakespeare's picture. Okay, then there is also a scenery photo that shows these the photo of the valley. Okay, so all these are put up over there. Okay, then also there are maps also, open-handed map. So all these are hung on the wall of the classroom. Okay, so now coming to this, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn. So the author is talking about the head of Shakespeare. Okay, so what does the poet compare this? So he compares this head to the civilized dome riding at all cities, here cloudless at dawn. So here he is talking about the sun that is rising. Okay, it doesn't have hair, it is actually bald, the head is bald, right? So he is comparing that to the sun. Okay, without any clouds, in the dawn the sun rises. So like that is Shakespeare's head. Okay, that means children are not able to understand who is Shakespeare, what is a map and all. That doesn't serve any purpose for them. Okay, so he's talking about Shakespeare's head. For children, actually, Shakespeare is a wicked person because they don't know anything about him, and the appearance that is there in the photo, okay, that makes him appear wicked to the children. Then civilized dome riding at all cities. So there is a photo that shows the picture of a valley, right? The poet says that Shakespeare actually appears to be far from the civilized homes, means he appears to be wicked. He appears not to be good for the children. So then, belled flowery Turley's valley. So here the poet is describing one of the pictures of valley that is put up on the wall. Okay, so there it is very flowery, it is actually very clean, it's very attractive. That doesn't appeal the children. Okay, so here the poet talks about the valley. Then open-handed map. So here he is talking about the map that is hung on the wall of the classroom. Okay, so awarding the world its world. That means world, actually, that he's talking about the outside world. For outside world, it is actually concerning. Okay, whatever is hung here, according to the poet, if at all these pictures were there in any of the classrooms that is there in the outside world, that would have been made some meaning. But here it actually makes no meaning. Okay, for them, that is for these children, their world is something different. What they look out of the window, that is for them only the slum is what appears there. Okay, so if they look out of the window, their living place, their dwelling place is only seen through the window. Okay, but this map and all, cities and all, that doesn't appeal them. That is what the poet is trying to say. And yet for those children, these windows, so the windows of the classrooms that are there, not this map, it is not as shown in the map, it is not their world. The map is not their world. But if they look out of the window, slum is what they see. For them, that is the world. Okay, so where all their futures painted with a fog. What does fog represent here? Fog actually represents some bleak world, some not so bright kind of world. Okay, so their future, when they are not ready to learn what is there in the map, when they are not ready to learn about Shakespeare, for them the outside world or the future, that will be very bleak, that will be very dull, is what the poet is trying to say. Okay, so a narrow street sailed in a lead sky. So here the poet is comparing the future of these children to a narrow road. Okay, means there are no opportunities. It is only a narrow road. it leads to only their world. They can only go to their up to their slum. They have no other opportunities. It is only a narrow road they are supposed to walk in. That is what the poet tells here. How is it related? How is it related to the outside world? Far, far from rivers. So it is nowhere near to the rivers. Okay. So far, far, again there is a repetition. Okay. So there it is far from the rivers. Capes means you know that you can say kind of beach, okay, that are near to the oceans. Okay, so a kind of island, or you can say, okay, so that is a cape. Okay, so there it is actually far from that also. Their world is far from that also, and also stars of words. Okay, so nowhere they are related to the normal world. They are too far from the normal world. That is what the poet is trying to tell over here. So coming to the literary devices, here you can see a sour cream walls. It is a comparison that is done. So that comes, so this comparison is a metaphor. Okay. So this comparison, poet has not used any words like or as, so it comes under metaphor. Okay, so there is another, you can see the repetition of vowels and consonants. Okay, so that one you can consider as assonance and consonants. We have already discussed this in the previous poem also. Okay, repetition of vowel sounds is called as assonance. Repetition of consonant sounds is called as consonants. Okay, so this you can just refer here and you can note it by yourself. Okay, so then you can see over here there is a quote of the famous personality here. Okay, Shakespeare. Okay, so this is also a figure of speech that is used. He uses one of the prominent personalities in his poem. So that is also a literary device that is used, and that is known as allusion. Okay, so that is known as allusion, as I said. Okay, quoting of this prominent personality in his poem. Okay, so in this stanza, what does the poet describe? He describes how the classroom walls are and how relevant the pictures that are there on the wall are compared to the lives of the children. Okay, so this is what the poet is comparing in this stanza. Okay, so going to the next stanza here. So here we have, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example. So these shouldn't have been there on the wall of the classroom is what the poet is trying to say. So they don't know anything about Shakespeare. They think of him in their own perspective, isn't it? When you don't know anything about any person, you may take some bad example, some bad thoughts, or maybe you can perceive him as a good person also. Okay, that completely depends on your thought, right? Similarly, here also Shakespeare for them is actually wicked, not a good person. The map is a bad example. Map, what do they understand? It is not at all a good example for them. Okay, so that is no way related to the to their world, so it becomes a bad example. Okay, so then with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal for lives that slyly turn their cramped holes, from fog to endless night, on their slang heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So there is profound meaning in this stanza. So what does the poet try to tell over here? So he is talking about the Shakespeare, about the famous poet Shakespeare, who shouldn't have been given as an example here. And he also talks about map, which has become a bad example because it is far from reality for these slum children. Okay, so other than this, what does the poet tell over here? So here you can see, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. So here you can see by this word, love tempting them to steal for lives that slyly turn their cramped hole. So here in these two lines, he is talking about what they are deprived of. They are deprived of the love, care and concern. Like what and all you experience, that actually they are deprived of. They do not get love and affection from their parents, probably because they live in a different world. Few of them may be orphans, few of them may be they are not in a position to get their parents' love because they might be working or something like that. Okay, so it depends on their situation. So they might be deprived of what and all they should have in their childhood. That is what the poet is trying to tell over here. Okay, so from fog to endless night, that means already the future is dark. Okay, that turns into endless night. Okay, whatever they are deprived of, that actually leads them to a darker future. That is what the poet tells here. On their slag heap, these children were skins peeped through by bones. These two lines actually talk about the malnutrition that the children are suffering from. Okay, so bones and spectacles of steel. So all these, they tell about the poverty that the children are experiencing. Okay, so peeped through by bones, this shows they are experiencing, they are having malnutrition. And spectacles of steel means what if at all they have to have that spectacles, specs or something, so that also is made up of steel, means the frame is made up of steel, means very low cost. Okay, so that very cheap quality material is being used over there. And with mended glass, even the glass that they are wearing, okay, glass means the glass used in the spectacles, that is also repaired many times. Okay, they cannot afford for a new one, so that is why the same thing whatever is there, they are mending that and they are using it. Fine. Like bottles bits on stones, so again the bottle bits that are there on stones, so that the bottles what they are using, actually they are not very clean, is what the poet means to say over here. All of their time and space are foggy slum. What is their world? After the school, they go back to their slum. They come back from slum to school. They have no other world, but their only time and space, the whole world for them is only this foggy slum. Foggy slum means which is not bright. Okay, like their future, the slum is also not bright. Okay, so blot their maps with slum as big as doom. So here the map that is given as an example. Here the poet is telling that these maps have to be replaced by this slums only. They should be as big as dooms. So that is what the poet tries to tell over here. So in this stanza, poet talks about the poverty that the children are experiencing, the malnutrition the children are experiencing. Okay, so we'll go to the last stanza now. So here, unless governor, inspector, visitor. So here by these words, he is talking about the government. Okay, so he is talking about the government. So on these words refer to the government. This map becomes their window, and these windows that shut open their lives like catacombs break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books. The white and green leaves open history there, whose language is the sun. So here the poet is urging the government to improve the lives of these children, improve the lives of children in these slums. Okay, so that is what the poet is urging, requesting the government. So what does he want to do? So the map should actually become a window, their window. Okay, so in previously also he had a reference to the window, right? So the window is presently the way in which they can look into the slum, but until and unless the government interferes here. Okay, so when the government interferes, then the window can be changed. Okay, the view they will have through the window can actually change. Fine. So becomes their window, and these windows, and what kind of windows they will change into, that shut open their lives like catacombs. Catacombs means actually graves. Okay, so the grave opens means they are coming out of the dead. That is what the poet is trying to say. They have to come into life. Now they are all lifeless. Okay, they are all rootless. They are all lifeless. Fine. So they have to come out of their grave, and that will lead to lot of opportunities to these children when the government interferes. Break open. So the tomb will actually break open till they break the town, means there will be lot of improvements in their lifestyle. Okay, so there will be lot of opportunities, so they can make use of that opportunity. So here everybody almost has the mentality of achieving something. Okay, so slum children, they actually have the mentality of achieving something, but only thing is they do not have opportunity. So the poet is requesting the government to provide opportunities for the slum children and show the children to green fields. So this window actually should lead them to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands. So the poet is telling that the government, if at all provides the facilities, that will actually become a window to the new world, to a new world for these children. Okay, so they can experience various, whatever is hung on the wall of the classroom. Okay, so that can be experienced in real life by the children. That is what the poet is telling in these lines. Okay, let their tongue run naked into books. That means they will get lot of opportunity to study. Fine. The white and green leaves open history theirs, whose language is the sun. So he is talking about the blooming of children. Okay, so the change in their lifestyle. So here there is one comparison you must notice. Here, run naked into books, the white and green leaves. So here white is referred to as books. Okay, then here green is referred to as nature. Okay, so what does the poet want these children to experience? He wants them to experience books. He wants them to experience nature. That means they have to be sent to a different world through the opportunity that the government is going to offer. So that is what the poet is trying to say. So in this stanza, what does the poet do? The poet actually requests the government to provide facilities and improve he wants the government to revamp the elementary school that is being run in the slum. Okay, so here is the summary of the poem. So next we will move on to the rhyme scheme. Okay, I already told you to notice the sentences that are there in the stanzas. Okay, so sentence is incomplete in the end of the line and it is complete in the middle somewhere. Okay, so there is no proper order in which it is followed. So it is told to be written in free verse. There is no specific pattern that is maintained. There are no rhyming words that are there in the poem. Okay, so it is said to be written in free verse. Okay, so let me tell you one more thing here. 2 or 3 places you saw that the stanza starts with a sentence. It does not end here. It ends somewhere here. Again, it starts in the middle. It again ends somewhere here and continues. So such usage means the sentence doesn't end here. It ends somewhere in the middle. So such usage is actually a literary device and it is called as enjambment. Okay, it is called as enjambment. Fine. And previously you saw run naked, run through, all these. Okay, so such usage is also a literary device and that is called as anaphora. Okay, anaphora is also used over here. Okay, repetition of words, word phrases you can say. Okay, so that is the literary device anaphora. You also came across allusion, isn't it? Allusion is also new to you. Allusion is the noting of the quoting of some prominent personality in his poem. Okay, so maybe these are the 3 new literary devices you have learnt in this poem. Okay, so let us now move on to know the theme of this poem. So what is the theme of this poem? Spender's other poems, here also he talks about social inequalities. Okay, he talks about social inequalities, means he compares the life of these slum children to that of the outside world. Okay, so he has compared the lives of children, life of slum children rather. Okay, so life of slum children to the outside world he has compared. Okay, so then he has also spoke about the condition of students in an elementary school. Okay, so social inequality, he talks about this malnutrition, then the facilities they are not being provided, all these. Okay, then he also talks about the condition of students in elementary school, means because of this malnutrition and all, they are not able to concentrate much on the lesson. Because of the facilities not being provided, the children are not able to see the outside world. Map becomes a bad example, Shakespeare becomes a bad example. So this way, so they are not able to utilize whatever is provided because they are not provided in a proper way. The place of the school is actually not proper. It has to lead them to a different world. Their future should not be dark. In the end, actually urges the government to improve this elementary school and also provide proper opportunities for them to have a bright future. Okay, so this was the theme of this poem. Okay, so by this we come to the end of this session. What we have learned in this poem, this was actually a wonderful poem which spoke about social inequalities and how it can be solved. Okay, so that's all for today. Let us meet again in our next session that we are going to have. We will have one of the lessons from Vistas. Okay, so let us start with Vistas now after this poetry. So let us wind up the session now. Till then, keep learning. I would expect you to go through the video, come with your textbook and a pencil for your doubts being clarified then and there. Okay, so take care children. Keep learning. See you shortly. Bye-bye.